You've got your tree, you've got your pot. Now you're adding a third factor into the picture. Immediately the whole picture changes. And that's the point of putting rocks into your displays. By adding that third, you can even add a fourth element into a display. It becomes a landscape. If you only have a single tree in a pot, the tree is the main focus. People are going to look at the tree. You get the classic root over rock. We normally do that with fig trees because fig trees naturally grow over a rock. And I chose this picture for a reason. Who can tell me whose tree this is? What's the Obalis? That's Charles Veronio's most famous tree, Ficus sycamore on a rock. That tree made me want to start bonsai. When I started 30 years ago, that thing was beautiful already. That tree and that group from Omtiensroos, they won top 10 in the world photograph competition in 1998 or somewhere. I don't know where that tree is today. I don't know if it's still alive. Hy is ook omtrent so groot. Ja, so omtrent so groot. It was spectacular at a point. After Charles died, I don't know what happened to that tree. I don't even know if it's still alive. If you think about landscapes, it doesn't have to be this humongous big thing with rocks and trees and distance and depth and all that. That's a landscape. You're putting a landscape in a pot. It's a big rock with a big tree. It's a landscape. It's the easiest way to create a landscape is a root of rock. Am I right? I don't know if that is. It came from Google. It looks like a celtis. I might be wrong. Now you can work it out. The size of your tree and the size of your rock. So you can have a big rock with a smaller tree on it. So the main focus will be the rock. In that case, that rock must be spectacular. It must be one of a kind. It must be a special rock because that will take all the focus. The tree is the second thing then. So if you look at this little figure that I did. Okay, it's not pruned now because I can't prune it now. The tree will be small. It's a bit heavy, the leaves will be tiny. The main focus is the rock. And that must tell the story. The tree will not overpower the rock. Well, that's the plan. Hopefully it won't. And this has been 5 years from a cutting. And I'm at the pot as well. That's the third element, is the pot. That's what I said. What is the main focus there? It's the rock. But look at that rock. It's spectacular. And then the tree. So the tree doesn't overpower the rock. The rock is the focal point. If you can't find a rock like that, then don't do it. And it's hard to find. That's completely the difference. What's overpowering? The tree. The rock is there, but it's not the main focus. So it's the tree. But it tells you the story of a tree growing on a rock. And that's what most of we do. Rocks with trees over them. Especially a fig tree, it will actually overpower the rock after a while. You won't even see the rock anymore, it will just be roots. This picture, the rock and the tree are almost on the same level. Size-wise and impact-wise. Together, the picture is perfect. And what I like about this is you've got quite a rugged tree, a rugged rock, and a glass spot. So the third element is completely different. It gives you that contrast. Beautiful. But that's a landscape. It's a bonsai landscape. This tree, I can see it's still young. It's a maple. So this tree will actually get much bigger. So in this case, the tree is the main focus point. The rock is an add-on. And of course the roots. That's another thing that you can do. And I've tried this in a way. I'll talk about this now. The rock becomes your trunk. So from a distance, it looks like the rock is actually the trunk of the tree. You have branches coming out on the rock where you should normally have branches coming out of the tree. This is was my plan with that, but then the tree overpowered this. The thickest tree grows too fast, and they get too big. So at the moment, the rock is still visible, but after a couple of years, the tree will overpower this rock completely. There's not much you can do about it. It's the Ficus natalensis. They are the fastest growing bonsai you can have, and it's difficult to keep them small. But I made this rock. This was one of the first that I made. It's difficult to find beautiful rocks that you can actually plant the tree on them. So now you've got the tree first, but you don't have the rock. Then you can make the rock. So we can have a class this year on making cement slabs. It's the same way, how to make these. This is the first one that I made. I've never used it. It's been in my garden. You've got moss growing on it. It's probably the first one that I made. So the next picture is you use more than one rock. So the tree is not root over rock, it's growing between the rocks. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 rocks in this little pot, and it's a complete landscape. But make sure when you do this that all your rocks come from the same place. So Mr. Kimura in Japan, he started this trend. We call them the Kimura rock. In Japan and China, they've got mountains coming out of the ocean, and it looks exactly like that. So that's not a rock anymore. Now it's a mountain, and you've got trees growing on the mountain. So I tried to copy that with this, but I gave it an African flavor. These are all fig trees from South Africa. So it's the African version of the Kimura rock. So this has taken 7, 8 years. I planted small trees. Actually, did a demo right here on this. When I put small trees on, and the roots didn't go to the bottom. The whole thing was wrapped in plastic, and I watered them from the top for 2 years, and then I took the plastic off. Then I took trees out. There were too many on, and I added more trees again. But now, every tree that you see on this rock, they're all inside in the pot at the bottom. Yeah. So it's a bigger picture than just a root over rock. It's more a mountain with trees on them. But it can also be a trunk with branches coming out. Isn't that spectacular? And to pull that off is not easy. I don't know if these are natural stones or they handmade. I don't know. It might be natural. They might be made. I saw this thing in Japan. I'm standing next to it, but I can't remember if it was made or not. But there you've got the whole picture in a pot. You've got your groups, you've got your rocks, you've got your landscape. Yeah, I think watering must go. This is big, eh? It's tall, it's big, it's like that. Yeah, it's huge. But yeah, it looks so natural, and it's not easy to do that. So there's another one. This guy probably copied it. You know, one guy does something spectacular, and then everybody jumps on the train and copy. So it's the same idea as the previous one. I kind of like that as well. It looks very natural. And that's one rock. One rock with a whole forest on top. So the rock becomes your pot. You don't put the rock in the pot, the rock actually becomes your pot. That one I don't like. I've seen that a lot on Facebook. I don't know why, but I don't like that. It almost looked Photoshop, but it's not. Now I've seen that thing way before AI. I've seen it. I've seen it a few times. Um, I don't know. It doesn't look balanced. Um, but the same idea. So you can do that with this stone easily. You can do that. So this is what I was talking about here. The rock is your pot. I don't know if that's natural or it's handmade. I can't tell from the picture. It might be natural. It might be made as well. You can't say. But the focus is that rock. That is the focus point. with that magnificent tree that goes with it. That tree will not work in a normal glazed bonsai pot. It won't work. Isn't that spectacular? So that's same as the previous, but bit more natural. You've got whole forest on one rock. But to maintain that it's going to be difficult. But that's a beautiful landscape. Yeah, it's very similar to this. But I'll get to that now. Very similar to that. But you can play around. You can do so much with rocks. That's Ryan Neal. So he did the same kind of thing, but he used deciduous trees. And it's the first one I've seen. That's absolutely beautiful. So it's not a pine or a juniper upright trees. It's a very natural thing. And that's big. I mean, look at the size of him. So here you've got a root over rock, but the rock is the main focus. The tree is there, but that is your focus point. And I think this one was actually made with smaller rocks that they add together. A lot of people do that. This type of stone. You can get small pieces and you can actually glue them together without showing the glue. And you can build yourself a tower like this. A friend of mine, Brett in Cape Town, did that. He used clinker, and it actually looked beautiful. So now that it becomes a bigger landscape, there's more than one rocks and a small tree on top. So again, now your rock becomes a mountain. But it's not such a big mountain because then the tree will be out of proportion. So it's quite a big mountain, but it's quite a big tree as well. So you're looking at it from a distance. It's not a close-up root of a rock. So you can't put a rock with grain going down and one next to it's grain going that way. It doesn't work like that in nature. You've got to get them to have the same lines, and it's difficult. So literally, the rocks they make these rocks. It's a very soft stone that they got, and they actually carve them, and they carve little pockets for the trees to grow on, just big enough for them to survive. I must say, if you close up to those, it looks artificial. It doesn't look nice. They look nice from a distance and on a photo, but I've seen them in his garden. It's not nice close up because you can see it's man-made. The rock is man-made. It's not natural. So this is a root over rock. You can see the roots are going all the way to the bottom. But it's a big rock and a small tree, so the rock is still the main focus point. Although it's a one tree rock, root over rock. It's nice. So what they did here is, it is individual rocks that they glue together to form those crevices for the tree to go in. It might be a single rock. I can't tell from a photo, but it's probably quite a few rocks that they glue together. And something that the Chinese do, I see it on Facebook quite often, they take a natural stone and they carve a groove into that stone. And they put the tree in that groove. Yeah, and they let it grow. So it kicks in and the tree becomes part of the rock. But it takes years, I would say. And you need perfect tools to carve a rock. That's what you use to carve a rock. They glue them together. I've seen videos how they make them. They actually take those rocks and they glue them together. I like that tree coming down there. And then your trees on this side plus your apex on the rock, you still get the triangle. But the trees and rock combined give you that. I like that. I don't know what they do that it doesn't fall over. Maybe it's glued to the pot. That looks like a disaster. I don't know how you keep that thing wet. But it's interesting. If it's not AI and it's real, it probably is real. It is interesting. I like that. But I think it will be difficult to maintain that. It is one of those trees that you don't know what to do with them. And then you do that. It looks like the trunk of the tree. So from a distance, it looks like a big old tree. But the rock becomes the trunk of the tree. I've seen a lot of them in Japan. But it's a mountain from a distance. with a lot of cheese on them. So it's the whole Drakensberg in front of you. There's the bigger picture. But let me tell you, that's not easy to do. First, you need to find the rocks. They all look the same. Then you need to find the container. And then you need to find the cheese. And you've got to get the proportions right. That's Chinese. The Chinese are good at this. They specialize in landscapes. Look at that. So the mountain is big and the streets are small. So the proportions there is absolutely beautiful. Proportions are key. Would you believe me if I tell you that's not rock? It's cork bark from yeah, it's cork bark from a cork bark oak.